What's going on, FUD Nation? Happy Veterans Day. I hope no matter where you are, whether you're here in America or abroad, you're having a lovely day. And of course, if you're a veteran out there, thank you so much for your service. And this episode goes out to you. We have a word from Binance's CZ, yes, the fearless founder of Binance, that the actual market volume in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets is about 2x what it seems like. Now, I could totally buy that, and what he's trying to say here is that the OTC market that is not represented on CoinMarketCap is where you're going to see at least as much trading as is going on in the retail market. Now, I can believe that because most OTC buys are at least 100 to 1,000 times more than your average retail buy. You have people moving hundreds of thousands, if not millions, tens of millions, and sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars worth of coins in single purchases. So of course, that's going to equate to, so many trades in the retail market that I wouldn't be surprised if on a daily basis, you have as much OTC trading as retail trading. So from that lens, he thinks the market is actually doing just fine. Furthermore, CZ went on to predict a bull run. He's not sure what will catalyze the next bull run, but he believes we're on the brink of another bull run. It sort of feels like that's about to start. I mean, if you look at the curve of the drop off of the Bitcoin chart, it sort of looks like if you imagine that the crash is going to come down and make a bit of a U-turn, it kind of looks like we're at, halfway through that U curve and that we should start sloping up soon. Obviously, that's a very unscientific way to approach this, but it does feel like we've just been going stable, sideways, very little drop off in the Bitcoin price for quite a while now, and we're due for a little bit of momentum upwards that could be considered, sustainable if we're able to build slow and steady. And I'm here obviously pulling for the bull run. We also have word that the Petrol from Venezuela is now being marketed as a unit backed by oil reserves, and that it should be considered like a unit of oil. This is just more strange news out of Venezuela surrounding what is none other than a currency crisis of hyperinflation, and we will see whether cryptocurrencies or the Petrol can bring them out of what is a clear nosedive economically. We also have word that the IMF is putting pressure on the Marshall Islands, who announced a national cryptocurrency, a central bank digital currency, that they were going to release as their national currency because they are a sovereign nation. The IMF said while they can't stop them from issuing a national cryptocurrency, what they can do is essentially pressure people who give aid to the Marshall Islands to stop giving that aid. Currently, the president is facing a vote of no confidence regarding his desire to launch a national cryptocurrency. So there's clearly a split as to whether this is the right way to go. I found this all just very interesting, and we'll see whether the IMF, who's been making pro-cryptocurrency statements lately, is actually going to side with the future or go ahead and dig in and make things very hard on getting to a crypto future. We will have to see, but it seems like the IMF is kind of putting their foot down and saying, no, not so fast. We also heard that IBM is looking to disrupt scientific research on the blockchain, and they've taken out another patent to that effect, yet another patent in IBM's arsenal, showing that they really intend to be a pillar of this industry for the entire future in almost every aspect of blockchain. And we have a report now that Bitcoin ABC has 600% more nodes than Bitcoin SV. That would mean that they actually have 7x. So they have 600% more than 100%. So they're 700% of the Bitcoin SV. So that means that there's 7x as much computing power there. I wouldn't be surprised if there's even more. Regardless, what we can see here is that the BCH Bitcoin Cash War has more or less been won already here, and that it looks like before the fork has even commenced, that Bitcoin SV will be BSV and that Bitcoin ABC's fork will remain BCH. And finally, a report has come out about 0x saying that essentially a lot of the main relayers on 0x protocol, the decentralized exchanges that are processing this decentralized trading, are not actually requiring 0x for their fees. And this is interesting because part of the value proposition of the 0x token is that it is required as fees for the 0x compatible decentralized exchanges. Now, of the top 10 relayers on the 0x protocol, DDEX and Radar Relay are two of the top. Now, DDEX has over $1 million in volume, comprising over 75%, over 3/4 of the trading volume, and they do not require 0x for their trading fees. Radar Relay does exclusively accept 0x for its trading fees, and they comprise probably about 20% of the trading volume there. You can see that the vast majority of 0x trading does not require 0x exclusively to pay for trades. So I guess while this isn't a huge fly in the ointment, it is a slight fly in the ointment for me, as I expected the 0x platforms to really utilize the 0x token a little bit more. Maybe that's not really the total vision, and 0x will facilitate all these decentralized exchanges, but the token itself will kind of not be as central as, I guess the coin holders would want it to be. I have a small amount of 0x. I think to me, this isn't something that's going to end the project, but it would certainly be more valuable as a token if it was exclusively the way to pay fees on the network. So that would be great. Obviously, maybe it allows for the network to grow faster by not requiring that. What do you guys think about 0x not being exclusively required to pay for fees on 0x powered decentralized exchanges? And finally, I thought this was hilarious. We have a 5th graders homework where they essentially have a Bitcoin price chart, and they're asking questions like, what was the earliest recorded value of Bitcoin? How much did the value change from 2010 to 2012? According to the graph, what was the most expensive month to buy Bitcoin? And then they said, go to CoinDesk.com. What is the current cost of Bitcoin, and what is the difference between July 2016 and now? I don't know if this is a CoinDesk plug, but that's one way to grow the next generation of cryptocurrency users and to get their loyalty is to get inside their homework assignments from a very early age. Very tricky, very cheeky, CoinDesk. We're going to look at this one tweet, which I thought was pretty interesting. By 2020, the US government is on track to spend more on debt interest than it spends on Medicaid. By 2023, more than on national defense. By 2025, the government will spend more on debt interest than every non-defense discretionary federal program combined. It's time for Plan B. Anyway, I thought that was really uplifting and exciting, a bit depressing, but again, it just shows you that right now the way our economy is going isn't very sustainable, that the national debt is at a point where it's going to start costing us more to service this debt interest than it will to, provide for our country. So let's move on here. I wanted to talk about sort of the main topic for today, which there's kind of two main topics, and that is some comments I said on my last video about NEO and some comments I said on my last video about EOS. Now, before I dive into this, I just want to say I'm a huge supporter of NEO. I'm actually a very big supporter of EOS as well, not just with content, but also with my money. I've bought into these projects. So as I go and I turn a critical eye towards the projects, I hope you guys understand that it's not because I'm trying to FUD things or spread information that may or may not be true, but it's because I'm genuinely curious, I'm genuinely critical, I have questions, and obviously when I put them out there without definite statements, my goal is to start a conversation. So the first thing I want to talk about is NEO. Now, NEO came out with a statement, their founder, Da-Hong Fei, came out with a statement saying essentially blockchains are overregulated and that if a blockchain doesn't have enough upper level sort of app developers, then it's sort of like a useless mechanism. It's a operating system without apps. It's like a tree falling in the forest and nobody hearing it and wondering if it makes a sound. It's, to me, a bit concerning because this has been my big concern for NEO. When I really got excited about NEO is when I started seeing all these ICOs coming out on NEO that seemed like they were actually really interesting, whether it was Deep Brain Chain, which is a phenomenal AI company, and Singularity Net. And then you also have a couple other interesting projects like I loved Ontology. All those projects are moving out of NEO's ecosystem and they're building their own chains. And so you have projects that are crowdfunding on NEO, but they're not actually contributing to the long-term success of NEO. Now you could say Ontology will make NEO better because it's going to be collaborative, and that's true, but it doesn't ensure the success of NEO, nor does NEO's success ensure the success of Ontology. They are independent entities as much as they are collaborative. So to me, it's exciting, but again, now I'm wondering, what's the through line for NEO? And it seems like based on public statements that Da-Hong Fei views NEO as a gaming platform. But when you search for all of the gaming apps on NEO, if you go to ndapps.org, which is where they list their dApps, you can see that there's only 5 projects that even have the word game or gaming in them. And of those projects, 3 of them are very simple sort of collectibles or, crypto games are very simple. It's kind of the equivalent to me as a hyper casual game that you would see in the App Store. And I actually used to make hyper casual games earlier on in my tech career. And I can assure you that it's a portfolio game. You understand that the people who are playing your game are most likely only going to play it for a lifespan of a couple of days to a couple of weeks at most. And so you need always a new game to keep the attention, to keep the crowd, because those games don't have enough story, enough connection, enough ongoing diversity in the gameplay to make you want to keep going. So chances are with those types of games, you're going to need a lot more of them. So that's a bit concerning to me. What do you guys think is the through line? What do you guys think are the real next steps for NEO? Because it seems like what they really need is a lot of people to come and start building dApps on them, but I don't see that energy. I don't see the next wave of developers rushing into NEO like I thought they were going to when, December, November was going on and we started seeing all these amazing ICOs getting announced on NEO, and it turns out that a lot of them aren't necessarily staying. I'm not trying to FUD NEO. I really like the team. I really like what they're doing. I like all of the on-chain sort of ecosystem that they've created. I think Da-Hong Fei has a real sort of visionary approach to the blockchain, but I do sense in his statement some frustrations that sort of called out some of my underlying suspicions of NEO, which is really what are they going to do next, and where are they going with this project, and how are they going to sustain their growth if they're not attracting the right developers? Let me know in the comment section below. As you guys know, I'm not saying you should sell NEO or anything like that. I'm holding my NEO. I'm hoping that they continue to develop their project and that they actually bring this back and get the excitement back in their project. Second thing we want to talk about here as a main topic is EOS arbitration. So I kind of trashed EOS arbitration on my last video. The reason why I did that is because right now we're in an era where one of the most common ways where you could have your funds and your accounts hacked is something called like SIM swapping, where people call in the phone company, they pretend to be you, they get access to your phone account, your cell phone account, then they essentially have the banks reset your passwords to your cell phone, and they end up getting access to like all your accounts. It's a very common hack in 2018, one of the most common. In fact, there's a new lawsuit against AT&T because people are getting cryptojacked that way. So I guess when my frustration came in is they created another system where they could override the sort of natural protections of blockchain, potentially to the benefit of certain users, but also potentially to the detriment of other users, where if, for example, someone's able to convince an arbitrator that my account is actually their account, then I could just lose my account. Obviously, I could appeal it. I could try to show that I actually have that account. But again, I guess what I'm cautious about as someone who almost went to law school, I was accepted to law school with a full scholarship and studied the legal process. What I was going to do is become a litigator. And I can assure you that our system, our actual system, which has taken centuries to evolve, is very messy. It takes a long time of people who are very, very well practiced in what they do. And you can take two brilliant legal minds, get them in the same room looking at the same evidence, and have different opinions. There's an old adage, you get two lawyers and you'll have three opinions. And so the whole point here is this arbitration system, while it seems like it's really amazing, could actually present a lot of complexity and human error in what I think is, a world that's made amazing by the non-emotional nature of code. So I guess I'm not trying to say that an arbitration system is flawed in and of itself, but I'm saying it makes me uncomfortable. And the truth is it does a little bit, because I don't think that there's been enough time for the system to mature to know that the arbitration system is going to work right. But then again, I'm just sort of floating it out there. I didn't mean to trash EOS. I still hold EOS. I still believe that what they're trying to do is very big undertaking, and it could potentially radically transform our modern world, liquid democracy, and all these very interesting things. I do see some problems with that. And one of those problems that I wanted to bring up was this arbitration system. I'm not the only person who saw this problem. If you look, Dan Larimer, who actually created EOS, he's the chief technology officer at Block One, actually released a statement this summer where he said, the arbitration system has actually done more damage to the community and to the goodwill towards EOS than it has done good by restoring funds that it saved. So I guess what I meant to say is, what do you guys think about arbitration? Do you think that it's possible to have such a young project that's already so complex successfully pull off arbitration in a way that it only adds positive? I mean, the question here is quite simple. Do the risks outweigh the benefits? Do the benefits outweigh the risks? It's too early in the story to say one way or the other, but I should have phrased it more, I guess, open-ended than I did. It's not that arbitration is bad. It's just that it makes me a bit nervous. Let me know what you guys think about EOS arbitration. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying not to invest in EOS because of it. I'm just saying you're essentially having one person somewhere decide to grant access or freeze funds, and I think it just kind of goes against a lot of the core tenets of what makes cryptocurrency and blockchain really interesting. Like, what if the government gets a hold of the EOS arbitration system and says, no, we control that now. All your funds are frozen. You support a political party that we don't agree with, all your funds are frozen. To me, replaces our current system, which has more checks and balances, with a system which seems to have less checks and balances. I'm just posing questions that I think are interesting and probative to the community. So hopefully you guys see that and you guys benefit from it. As usual, thanks so much for stopping by and watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button. And of course, leave me a comment in the comment section below. I'm Elio Trades, you're watching FUD TV, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.